Welcome to the Nightmare Emporium. Here we take a deep dive into some grisly tales that are bound to make you lose your head. Now, let's check in with our host, the macabre marvel herself, to see what she has in store for us this week.
Closet rules. Let me just begin by saying paper towels are expensive. It's one of those epiphanies that you tend to have as your items are scanned and your heart dips while noticing you've blown a quarter of your paycheck on a week's worth of groceries. As if choosing a career in creative arts was not taxing enough. On the bright side, people in LA were rich. Stupid rich. Which meant that the odder your job was, the more you got paid. Closet organization came naturally to me, and thanks to Marie Kondo, this little side business I had helped get me through the most tough days. A friend of mine had recently hooked me into a website where you could list your services to reach the elite of the elite. That's when I got an offer from an Audrey Salinger that I could not resist. She had left her contact number in the message, saying it was a highly paid gig and that she could not reveal any more details until I agreed. I picked up my phone and dialed her number. "Hi, you've reached Audrey Salinger." A delicate voice came through on the second ring. "Oh, hey. This is Karina from the Closet Organization ad. I saw your message." "Karina, I'm so glad you called," she interrupted, her tone changing almost instantly. I didn't have to speak more as she delved right into the details. Audrey worked for the Montgomerys, whose house required quite a bit of refurbishing, and she'd like to start with the closet. It all seemed fine until she mentioned she had one condition. "It would be preferable if you finished it in one night. You can stay over if need be," Audrey spoke. I was a little taken aback to respond, feeling uneasy about the proposal. I wasn't ready to make her a promise that I would not follow through without knowing what I was dealing with. $3,000. Audrey's voice interrupted my thoughts. Thrice the amount listed on the website. "I'll pay you $3,000 if you spend the night, and I'll do it. I'll get it done," I told her. I wasn't going to let this opportunity slip by. "Great. I'll text you the rest of the details. Thank you." Audrey cut off the call without a second to waste. I woke up early the next day, ready to get a head start on the laborious task that lay ahead. I pulled into the driveway of the address Aubrey had texted me. It was nothing less than a mansion. She had instructed me to let myself in with the key, dropped in the mailbox. It amazed me how nonchalant the rich are when it comes to safety. I found the key, along with an envelope addressed to me. I opened it to find the dollar bills, 3,000, as promised, along with a letter. Carefully placing the money inside my bag, I pinched myself to ensure I was not dreaming. I opened up the letter. "Dear Karina, I'm sorry I was not able to personally meet you as something came up, but please refer to the following instructions below. 1. You are to only clean the second room on your right downstairs. All other rooms will remain locked. 2. Lock yourself in once you're inside and do not open the door if you hear a knock, no matter how many times you hear it. 3. If you find a dollhouse while cleaning, make sure to cover it with the white bedsheet. The dolls need to sleep. Please do not forget this. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. The bed's rolled out on the living room sofa. Audrey." I read the letter twice, wondering if she was trying to be funny with her 2 rules. I placed the letter into my bag and let myself in, immediately locking the door behind me. I wasn't one to break the rules, especially if it came with a ton of money. The grandeur of the Montgomery's mansion swept me off my feet. It took me 30 minutes to pick my jaw up off the floor and get to work. The second room on my right was a walk-in closet piled with all sorts of things. I believed it belonged to a Mrs. Montgomery, as most of the items resembled what would belong to a middle-aged woman. I rolled up my sleeves and got down to it. Cleaning, folding, stacking, labeling, only taking a quick half-hour break in between for lunch to grab a sandwich I found in the fridge. I made a mental note to reach home and Google what line of business the Montgomerys were in to afford all this. When I came back, ready to tackle yet another section, I noticed a huge dollhouse, one that slipped my attention before. It was a replica of the very mansion I was in, down to the nth detail. Every room, every tile, so meticulously designed. There were 4 miniature figurines placed in a different room of the house. I assumed it was the family that currently paid for my 2 months' rent. I didn't dare touch the dollhouse, worried that if I even chipped it a little, it would cost me a kidney. I dove right back into work, letting the hours pass me by. It was 11 p.m. as I placed the last pair of stilettos on the shelf. Too exhausted to even eat, I shut the lights out and closed the door behind me, crashing on the living room sofa. I was deep asleep when I was awakened by the knocking. I checked my phone to see it was almost 2 a.m. The eeriness of it all finally caught up to me as I began to imagine the worst-case scenarios in my head. I began to regret signing up for this. The knocking got faster, and I shut my eyes, trying to zone it out. I woke up the next morning to the sound of clanking pans from the kitchen. I realized I'd overslept due to my exhaustion. I walked into the kitchen to find a man and a woman, similar to the dolls I saw.
Good morning. You must be Karina.
Mrs. Montgomery flashed me a bright smile.
I love what you've done with the closet. Looks so much more compact.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know you were here, I spoke, too embarrassed to present my disheveled morning face.
Oh yes, we found an early flight back from the Bahamas. The kids couldn't wait to get home. Why don't you join us for breakfast?
I sat down on one of the high chairs as the 2 kids rushed in. After helping myself to a scrumptious meal, I said my goodbyes after thanking them at least a couple of 100 times. On my drive back, with only 5% of my battery left, I quickly texted Audrey that the job was done and that I also had the pleasure of dining at the Montgomerys. As soon as I reached home, I jumped in the shower and plugged my dead phone in. I could feel the fatigue leaving my body as the hot water hit. I couldn't help but sing out loud, ecstatic about how this gig went. My bathroom concert was interrupted by a knocking at my front door. I turned off the water and wrapped myself with a towel. "Give me a minute," I yelled as I hurried to get dressed. My phone screen flashed. 15 missed calls from Audrey? 5 texts? The knocking began again. "In a second," I read the text.
Karina, pick up my call. Did you leave the house? Tell me you left.
I couldn't understand Audrey's panic as I scrolled through her text.
Karina, did you forget to cover the dollhouse?
I couldn't recollect. I must have forgotten because of how tired I was. The knocking on my door came faster, more furious now.
The Montgomerys died in a plane crash 2 years ago. Trip back from the Bahamas.
I felt my ears get hot, the knocking fading into the background as I opened her last text.
Do not open your door.
Well, well, wasn't that just a scream? Until next time, our fiendish friends, remember to stay scared, and sometimes it's more than just a story.